What's up, everyone? Beast Mode back here with another video. So today I wanted to cover Diva Hero Beat. That would be the next deck that I would consider S tier or a tier above all the others. I think there's 4 or 5 decks that we'd have in that category. Hero Frog or Frogs in general. I think Diva Frog is also really good. Blackwing, which I covered recently, the Diva Hero Beat, which is this here with the Diva Hero, rather with the Divas and the Heroes. And then there's like Hero Beat, which doesn't play Diva, but plays more of the skill drains, and it's more of a like anti-meta deck. And then you have Vayu Turbo. So today I'm going to cover a quick match. The match itself doesn't really matter, obviously if I win or lose, but just seeing how the deck plays and the cards in the deck, which you can easily identify them being better than a lot of the other decks, Quick Draw or maybe even the Machina deck. The cards in this deck are just better. Like look at Miracle Fusion. This is probably one of the best cards of the format. Definitely like top 10. This card here, a top deck, Miracle Fusion, is just devastating, especially if the game is really simplified. Royal Oppression, this deck could main deck this card easily. This card is also very broken. Again, this is Sparky Flary's deck. I don't play this deck typically. I think the one match we'll cover today is probably the first match I played in quite a while. I typically just play zombies, but it does have, this deck is actually really different compared to some of the other builds. I think James Ark was the one who kind of made the deck, especially with the Spined Gilman. But this here main deck's triple Upstart, which I'm not sure is the best card, just because giving 1,000 life points to your opponent can be significant. And it plays some of the legacies, which I'm not sure if this deck mains this or not. Again, I'm sure you guys know more than I do when it comes to these the Diva Hero builds, because for me, when I see one top, I just go, oh, same thing, and I just kind of scroll by it. I don't really look at them. One thing I did notice is Dark Bribe, obviously. Not very common in these decks, and this card is actually really good in my match I played. And then Dimension Prison, only one of them. I guess we're kind of cutting down on some of these. I kind of feel like even the zombie deck should cut down on a few of these now. I just feel like they're easily read and everyone's kind of playing around them now, or they don't really care because this deck is so popular. If you attack with an alias and you deprison, then they just spark it. So it doesn't have as much value as it once did. So anyway, we can hop into the game, the match replay here. I did play against Ericola, which is he's a great player, and we're just going to kind of go through this. And this is a very common matchup. Actually, from what I know, the Hero Beat deck is favored versus Blackwing. And this here is a high quality player. This is not just some random on dueling book here. So obviously this hand is really good. And then I got to go first on top of that. But bear with me here. I don't really know how to play this deck. So and again, it's not overly complicated, but there is some intricacies in knowing when to play Miracle Fusion, not to play Miracle Fusion. That's probably one of the more complicated scenarios. Maybe when you should Honest or when you should activate Spark. But this is generally a new player friendly deck, not overly complicated. The games are typically very linear. Synchros, you got 1 or 2 options a game pretty much with the Diva, maybe Catastor, Android, or Brio. But this is kind of cool here, this Dark Bribe. I do kind of like this. And then, of course, we have Upstart. So I summoned Stratos first to search out the alias because I don't want to upstart into an alias. That's one problem that this deck does have. It's extremely consistent, but when you don't see traps and or you see too many monsters, the deck just falls apart. It's pretty much a better version of Gladiator Beast, really. You want to summon Stratos and set 5. That's really the goal. So we will upstart, and then we e-call again. So I'm not sure if you should just hold the e-call. I feel like you should just play it and get the alias out of the deck, because like the worst thing to do is draw another alias here. This deck does not play Ocean, so we only have 3 alias as targets. The reason why the deck plays 2 E-Call and Rhoda is to get the Stratos turn 1. So I think we just search out the alias here, and then we're going to set a bunch because this is what this deck does, and which is great. So we got to go first here. We have a strong opening. The only thing we could have really wanted more is probably having Future Fusion, but we bottomless the Shura here because that's probably the best monster the deck has other than Blizzard. And we draw. So you can make the argument that I could just Legacy here and draw another card. But I like just threatening my opponent with a bunch of back rows. I feel like that's kind of what, when I'm playing against this deck, I really hate seeing Stratos and 5 back row, because every play you make, you have to think about, is there an Hero Blast? Is there a D Prison? Is it Bottomless? Is it Spark? It's really hard to play when they have so many back row, even though that this card here is really not that interactive in terms of, you know, my opponent, I'm waiting for them to Dust Tornado this or something. This player here is not going to do that. So, especially since the card's already been set. So anyway, we let that happen. We could have Dark Bribed it, but I don't find that to be necessary. We have another one on hand. And right now, Alias is essentially just a 1900 vanilla monster. We don't have Spark to go with it. So, and then they obviously dust a new one. We didn't absolutely have to set that there, but it's fine. We don't really care about this because we have an answer anyway, and this was essentially a +1, so that's fine. So I think a little bit here. I decide to Legacy now just in case. I don't know. I'm trying to maybe find an MSD or something. Just another option to, because my choice is either do I summon Alias here, and then if it's Bottomless, I'm kind of running low because this card is really the main card of the deck. Now I'm forced. Do I have to Dark Bribe that? I really don't want to. But then also I only have the Spine Gilman in terms of waters. So if I hit a Miracle Fusion here, I'm probably going to make a decision where I might have to save the Spine Gilman if it's Bottomless. So I just decided to do it now, just to give me more options. Again, who knows if it's right or wrong. So the other option is I can, if this is D Prison, I don't want to lose the Alias. Really, my thought is I don't want to lose Alias, and I don't want to have to play Dark Bribe to keep Alias. So I say at this point, I don't have Miracle Fusion. I probably can draw a Diva at some point. Let's just throw out the Gilman out there and see, because I'm hoping that this is an Icarus attack. That would be ideal because I have the Starlight Road. So, and if they drop a Kalut to kill a Spine Gilman, we don't care. So we attack. I don't think that that's going to happen here, but actually they do drop Kalut, and they're only on 1 dark. So for us, that's a favorable trade because we still have the Alias next turn to follow up on. So we just take 1300 here, no big deal. And they do set Icarus. So now we draw probably the best spell card of the deck other than Miracle Fusion. And we have so much. So now if Alias comes down and tries to eat a D Prison, we can chain the Spark. We just have this card here just opens up so many plays, and it lets you just play careless. That's why this deck is kind of easy to play, because you don't care. You just summon Alias and attack, and if they ever have a response, you just Spark it. So I think that's what we're going to do here. We attack. They Icarus attack here, which we love. If we did not have Starlight Road, we could obviously Spark this, hit the back row, and then draw a card. So even Icarus is really not that good against us when we have Spark. And of course, we're just going to Starlight Road, and we have the Dark Bribe, which actually worked out really good here. It destroyed a Solemn, and the draw is probably not relevant now that we have Spark. And we actually have the Stardust too, so I think this is just game, and it's game. So Dark Bribe actually wins us that game there, and we get to go first, and that was pretty cool. So I side deck here. I don't really know how to sideboard with this deck, because I did find when I was looking at the deck during the sideboard phase, it seemed like a lot of the cards you really can't take out. So I was trying to put in like Consecrated Light and the Snowman Eater, and I was cutting back on like the E-Calls and the Rhoda, because then I was kind of monster heavy. And as you can see here, we obviously drew too many monsters. So yeah, I don't know if that was necessarily the right choice. And we draw another Alias here. So at this point, my option is to summon Stratos and search the last Alias, because that's all that's left. Maybe that's the right choice, just to get the +1. That's probably better, but I was kind of thinking maybe I can get Hero Blast live here. And I'm reading this as Value Icarus, which it's not. It's Value Legacy. Looking back at it now, maybe Stratos is the right play. I don't know why this deck doesn't play Ocean. I think you probably should have at least 1 Ocean in it. It just gives you another target. So we are losing an Alias. So our opponents here know that if you can get through like the 2 or 3 Alias and just get them banished, this deck has a hard time playing, because Hero Blast is dead, Gemini Spark is dead. It definitely slows down Miracle Fusion, because there's only 4 heroes in this deck in terms of targets. There's 3 Alias and 1 Stratos, which is why I think that this deck should probably play Ocean. But again, I'm not an expert. So then I draw Rhoda. So now I have a choice. Rhoda's dead in this choice here, because I don't know if I side decked out. I think I took out the Warrior Lady for the Snowman Eater. I could have left the Warrior Lady in. I guess they're kind of both the same. But I figured that I would want at least Rhoda in the deck, because I took out the 2 E-Calls, but this is kind of the problem with the deck. So this does showcase the one problem is when you draw too many monsters, right? Which is probably this deck's only weakness, that and large monsters. So obviously the biggest monster in the deck is the 1900 Alias, and if you're not playing Miracle Fusions, this deck has a difficult time outing monsters with 2000 attack or more. So sometimes just summoning Sirocco and just walling up can be like an OTK strategy versus this deck, because the only way they can out it is either A, traps, which we saw that this deck actually cut down on D Prison, so less battle traps, number one. Number two, Miracle Fusion has to be live for you to get the absolute zero to really make those big pushes. And number three, the Diva Hero, the other play is the Diva Gilman into like an Android or Catastor, which bottomless usually stops. So I think here the play is probably turn one Stratos for the Alias, but then this road is dead. So I just don't think I side decked right at all because of just lack of experience with the deck. And yeah, so we just summon another Alias here because at this point we're hoping that one sticks and then we can make the Hero Blast live. And they've already DD Warrior Lady and now bottomless too. So this one here, we're hoping stays, number one. Number two, I'm trying to land an Alias so then I can actually Stratos pop, because now the Stratos doesn't get a search. So that's kind of the reason why I just keep going Alias Slam, and eventually I'm hoping one sticks. I'm kind of accepted the fact that I've just drawn a bunch of monsters. This Future Fusion is also dead because there is no other heroes left in the deck, because this deck only plays the 3 Alias and the Stratos. So again, I probably could sequence this much different, but I don't know. Ultimately, there are going to be some dead cards on our hand because this deck does not play the Ocean specifically. So yeah. I think at this point we could either summon the Alias and or set or summon Stratos rather. I don't know. We summon another Alias here. We don't really care about a Kalute because we have the Hero Blast here. We're just hoping if they don't have Kalute, then we're in a pretty good position because now we have an Alias on the board and they are going to have to summon into that. And we have Hero Blast if this does die. So we're okay. They do Kalute here, which again, not a huge thing. They're just going to get they search another Kalute. So we take the 1400 and we're just going to Hero Blast the Shura. But again, now we drew Consecrated. So again, I don't think I specifically side decked right. I'm not sure the exact side deck pattern with this deck. I don't even think you really need to side deck against the Blackwing matchup. I just think that your game one is very strong, the way the deck is. So I think I probably over sideboard here. But I pretty much took out like monsters. I think I took out the DD Warrior Lady, the E-Call. So 2 E-Call, a DD Warrior Lady for 2 Consecrated Light and a Snowman. So these would have still been like not that great anyway. They would have been like E-Calls and a DD Warrior Lady. So I'm not sure you even really need to sideboard that much against this matchup because I think you're just heavily favored anyway. Maybe not heavily favored. Maybe it's like 60-50 or 60-40 rather in favor of the Hero Beat player. So anyway, we are going to attack here and we actually get this to go off. We probably could just set this Future Fusion because it's not doing anything for us anyway. Maybe. But then it turns on Icarus because I'm kind of reading this as Icarus because they turn one Bayou into a back row. So they end up drawing the Whirlwind. And then as you saw in the last video, Whirlwind is just so strong in this deck. It's one of the best cards of the format, obviously. It's +1 every time. And we just lose there. So we're going to go into game 3. And actually game 3, what I do is I just reset the deck back to its game 1 state and just say, I'm going to try this because again, this is just for video. This is not thoroughly testing. I'm just trying to play the deck and just see what makes this deck strong. And me trying to sideboard with a deck that I'm not very familiar with and I don't really know the matchup intricacies, it's just not really doing myself any favor and it's not really putting a display of the way that why the deck is strong. So I go back to normal build. I just click reset deck and I get to go first with Stratos here, which is very good. That's like the best opening. And yes, so we are going to do that in the proper sequence. I still think that that's right. You should summon Stratos first and then search what you want and then upstart. Again, maybe others say you should just upstart first and then search with Stratos. But the option in this deck is always Alias because that's all it is. So maybe if you play Ocean, I guess you can make the argument if you're looking to get Ocean too because which would be better here because we have Miracle Fusion. I guess you could just upstart first and then summon Stratos and see which one you don't get. So we set Torrential here. The reason why I set Torrential is because if they decide to do like a Sirocco special summon Bora play, I would torrential that. I then thought to or if they also have Whirlwind, I don't want them to get any searches. If they go like Whirlwind Sirocco, I'm going to torrential that as well. They just go Shure here, so then I have to think, do I want to torrential this or not? I don't. I just say to myself, if they have Kalut, they have Kalut, and I don't really care about the value or whatever they search with. So they do have the Kalut here, which was okay. I'm going to take the 800, and they don't synchro main phase 2, which is fine because we probably would have torrential that. But we have Spark Alias here, so I think this is pretty free if we just summon into the back row here. So we do, and they do have the Icarus, so now I am forced to play the Spark, and we don't really get any value out of the torrential, though we probably wouldn't have anyway. We would have lost Stratos, and the it would have been, what, a 1-for-1, I think? I could figure out the math, but so we lose that. We Spark anyway. We take out their monster, and we draw a card. So we're still sitting in a really strong position. We have Deep Prison Solemn now. All we're waiting for is a water to turn on this Miracle Fusion. You can see that this deck is just very, very consistent. Again, we're just going to hit that water, and this card's live. So we set 2 back row because we don't have much of a fear. I don't necessarily have to Deep Prison this, but I'm worried. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I have to Deep Prison that. I probably shouldn't. I probably just summon the DD Warrior Lady into it. Because if they Icarus there, it's just a 2-for-2 anyway. So I draw the Diva now, which we're sitting in a good position. And we are going to attack. So I could actually Miracle Fusion here. And again, I think that's probably the right play, is just go like summon Android and Miracle Fusion and drop the Absolute Zero because we have Solemn to protect ourselves. The problem is they're on 3 darks, which makes me nervous about Dark Arm. So I'm really hoping to save the Solemn for Dark Arm if that's the case, because if I bring Absolute Zero here and they torrential me, I'm gonna be forced to Solemn that, or if it's Mirror Force. So I'm a little bit nervous about that. So I just attack with the 2400. I make Android because I have Honest, so I'm feeling pretty confident here. And let's see here. End phase, they actually draw Dark Arm. Also a very strong card. So now I'm in a bad position. It's actually going to be, I think I just lose here because of this. I have to Solemn Dark Arm. Obviously, you don't really have a choice. And they have the Brain Control, which is the best spell card of the format, definitely. And they have Game. So we actually lose that game because we play a little bit too conservatively. Probably due to lack of experience with just the deck itself and matchup. Typically, when I see players play this deck, they kind of full send like everything they have all the time. And especially with Solemn down, I guess, I play a little bit scared there, and I lose the game because of it. Obviously, they top deck Dark Arm, but that stuff's going to happen. And even if I have, like, I guess if I don't de-prison the Bora there, which probably is where I made a mistake, I'm probably sitting better, and then I can, like, Miracle Fusion this turn. But I think that they still... they would just Brio anyway, so it wouldn't matter because they would Legacy, draw the card, and then Brio the back row. So I would still lose. So that didn't matter much, me actually de-prisoning the Bora. But this deck here is extremely consistent. I probably should win the game if I just Absolute Zero there. But again, this matchup here is favored for the Diva Hero Beat player from what I know and what I've seen in War League. It's pretty consistently winning. And also, I did not actually side deck for game 3 at all. If I understood how to side deck a little bit more, I think we probably would have even stronger game 2 and 3 matchup. But again, it wasn't a matter about winning or losing here. It's about seeing this deck is extremely consistent. You did get to see the downfall with the deck game 2 where you draw too many cards, or monster cards rather. A lot of that's probably the way I side decked, but even the cards I had taken out were just more e-calls and such. So the deck is playing some of the cards like e-call and Rhoda to search the Stratos, but when you see Stratos already, those cards become kind of not good. I do think that this deck would be a little bit better if it probably just played one Ocean, maybe over the DD Warrior Lady, because this deck is kind of normal summon reliant anyway. You don't really want to be summoning DD Warrior Lady when you can be summoning Diva or like Ocean or Alias, because that's what you need to play. So I don't know. Again, I'm not an expert with the deck, but this deck is definitely S tier. It's extremely strong against Blackwing. If you can get the Miracle Fusion set up and rolling, the deck is pretty much unstoppable. It can play Royal Oppression, sideboard anyway. It can play Miracle Fusion. So it plays Honest, which is one of the best hand traps of the format. The only card that this deck can't play that's extremely strong is Dark Arm, which, any deck that can play Dark Arm is pretty good. So as you saw, But anyway, I wanted to get a video out. I wanted to showcase the Hero Beat deck. I don't play much of it. And the next deck I'm going to play is probably Value Turbo, and I'll save Frogs for the end because I actually literally never played that deck at all. So I'm going to probably really embarrass myself more than I did today. But anyway, I'm trying to get some video content out. I just had my second child, so I'm a bit busy. But I also want to start a fantasy football league with some of you guys to hang out and play some fantasy football because it's a really big part of my life when football season starts. So if you guys are interested, comment below. I don't know what platform we'll play yet. Most of my like home leagues are on Yahoo, but I'm open to like Sleeper, and we just got to figure out a way to keep everybody engaged. Maybe there'll be a small buy-in to the league. But if you guys are interested, either comment on the video or you can just send me a message in Discord. But with that being said, I'll see you all in the next one.